Ask the Murloc.
Yes, Queen's Bishop to Rook King 5. What do you mean that's an illegal move? The Murloc cares not for your flippantry. Criticise my elite style of play again, I'll have you diced and put in a stew and thrown over all the nearest peasants. Speaking of, here's some of them right now. Yes, that one, take him away. Why? I don't like the cut of his jib. He looked at me funny. Throw him into the pond of spidery death. Now the rest of them, they're looking timid now. How delicious, yes. No, don't sit down on the new carpet. You'll cover it in your man-filth. Unacceptable. Stand in line, over there, on the tiles. They're easier to clean. You, the one with the pig-like visage. Speak now.
Dear Murloc, I'm skilled in mining and skinning. I want to drop skinning and take up blacksmithing. How do I drop skinning?
I see, your peasant brain only has the capacity for 2 trade skills. How incredibly unfortunate for you. The Murloc is a grand master of all, so powerful that he can craft Arcanite Reapers from oatmeal and sticky tape, and conjure Eternium from thin air. Yes, indeed, thin air. Some people might call it hacks. The Murloc calls it talent. However, I only see one solution. To remove skinning, you must remove your skin. Transcend the boundaries of flesh and entomb yourself in an immortal biometal body. Fortunately, the Murloc can craft this for you using copper bars and a ball of string. Then you will be forever bound to serve my will and harvest a galaxy worth of souls for my purposes. You will be a journeyman blacksmith, yes, indeed. And you'll be able to craft all these crude but nice things for your village and feed your children and cause happy kittens to emerge from the twisting ether. And all that good stuff, yes.
Ask the Murloc.
Dear Murloc, what is the fastest way to get to 70? Would you recommend grinding over questing? I would recommend spontaneous combustion over your face. Burn, y'all. You know how we do. Sorry. Don't know what came over me there. Perhaps the spirit of MC Murloc and his Illin ads from beyond the grave. I heard he got into a dispute with some hip fellows over the market value of some narcotic products that turned out to be chopped parsley, and is now sleeping with the fishes, which, quite frankly, is rather unsavory in my honest opinion. But yes, your question. Quite obviously, the answer to that is whether or not you want to have fun or simply get there faster. The more enjoyable but slower way is to grind the same mob to 70. I would recommend mana rates, particularly if you're an arcane spec mage. Trust me, hilarity will ensue. If you're looking for the fastest way, however, I would recommend questing. However, this generally involves being a glorified errand boy and all that reading, the pastime of the bored, smelly scholars, not the hero of Azeroth. The truly bold will avoid the reading element altogether and stride forth, completely unaware of where their quarry or objective is. Adds to the adventure, you know, yes. And besides, you can always ask your fellow heroes where everything is, repeatedly. They won't mind. Now, horsey to Pawn Queen 17. What do you mean it's a night? It's mid-afternoon, you fool! Get your eyes tested, or I have them gouged out and fed to Jeffrey the irate hamster. Ha-ha!
Ask the Murloc.
Yes, indeed, folks. You listen to Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit. Running short on time, as per always now with Blue Please. I actually really like that feeling. There's this feeling of urgency to the whole thing, yeah. And of course, you just heard That's the Murloc. Before that, Captain Dan and the Scurvy Crew. Real swashbucklers, throw your hooks in the air. Again, check them out, myspace.com/Captain Dan. And you do, of course, have the opportunity to win Captain Dan's album, along with various other nice goodies from non-existent records. All you need to do is enter the Where is the RP contest. Do your best pirate impression over the next week and email it into themurloc@gmail.com with the subject, Where is the RP? Yes. Okay, I've got one final topic to cover. It's the
second wind
topic for next week. Now, why on earth I have that so loud and echoing back, I really don't know. But the problem is fixed. I definitely aren't making mistakes or anything. So, yeah, second wind topic for next week is going to be just how difficult is too difficult? An interesting question, one might say. Now, interestingly enough, there has been some whining on the forums, and there's been a recent blue post claiming, and typical when I need it... Oh, there we go, it's loaded up now. That basically says that some of the content is too hard. Yes, it is. It is, in fact, too hard. And as such, they're going to nerf some of it. Now, the question is that a good idea? Now, let's have a look at just what this actually says. Now, We had a guy called Panthero post on the forums, and he said, a raid guild leader's perspective on the Burning Crusade. And he said, we were working on Cthulhu before Burning Crusade. We were only raided 3 nights a week, and we were probably the 4th, 5th most progressed guild in our server. We tried to maintain a very small raiding core, and I think the 3 nights a week schedule really helped eliminate burnout. I want to post on some of the topics, blah, blah, blah. And he's pointing out stuff like, apparently, the normal mode 5-mans are very, very well designed, short, fun, with appropriate rewards, a good guild, group one-shots them, done within an hour, that's great, great, great. Enjoying the arenas, the question's more varied. And now he says there's some serious problems on the horizon. He says the scale up in difficulty from 5-mans to heroic 5-mans in Karazhan is intense. We've cleared through MOV on our first time, then spent this week banging our heads against Romeo and Juliet. Most of our team has the best gear out of 5-mans, since our gear is not going to get much better, and our skills will improve only so much after 2 years of raiding. The only way we'll be able to reliably beat this content is using massive amounts of consumables, at least 2 to 4 flasks and food and pots, elixirs for everyone. This kind of consumable mania is really against the spirit of our 3 nights a week semi-casual raiding philosophy. If I need to spend 8 hours a week farming for raids, I will likely not raid. And he's basically saying also the gear improvements from raiding are too poor. If the tiered sets do not scale up from anything more than we've seen from tier 3.5 to tier 4 to tier 5. What tier 3.5 is, I assume, is only dungeon set 3. I will never ever know. Then more difficult content will just mean more consumables, more farming, and less people seeing raid content. So, and he also said that the keying process is apparently too difficult. He's not worried about our normal raiders, but what if you lose a raider and then 5 months down the road you need to have some more fill-ins for, say, Black Temple or whatever, and you have to key them through all this stuff. Right. Now, we've had some replies from Tigol specifically. Yes, we all love Tigol. Definitely love Tigol.
Help! Help! I'm being repressed!
So, I was saying this. We're discussing various solutions to the issues with consumable. We're aware of the issue and agree that it is an issue. With that said, I don't really think Karazhan is overly difficult and requires massive amounts of consumables. Having seen Kiki's guild deal with most of Karazhan, I would pretty much have to agree with that. It doesn't require massive amounts of consumables at all. Some consumables, yeah, but whoa, they're used for potions and consumables. We discussed this back in the day on Epic. Yeah, consumables are an element, and they always will be an element of raiding. But you see guilds that can now get through it, and hey, they do it. That's great. Now, I would say that there has to be a challenge, and that consumables should be an element. Of course, not overly so, but then again, in my opinion, they're not overly used, because from what I've seen, consumables are not a major issue within Karazhan particularly. Now we go on, and he says that the gear improvements are too poor. Now Tigol says, we're taking another look at raiding gear. I'd agree with your statement. Okay, fair enough. I can't say I massively agree with that. Some of it is a bit gash, to be quite honest. Some of tier 4 is not amazing, but then again, supposedly tier 4 is supposed to be easier to acquire than tier 3 was, and of course some tier 3 is arguably better than tier 4, and I think that's fair enough. Shame that no one's going to go back to Nax anytime soon, but there you go. Now, the thing which really gets me is that the keying process is apparently too difficult. And this is Tigol's reply to that. I partially agree and partially disagree. We have some ideas that will help people catch up who join the endgame later on. With that said, I'm not so sure endgame players would like the face of the game if everyone had instant access to all the content. There is something to be said for progression and the sense of accomplishment. Don't get me wrong, we had to be careful not to create a brick wall for new people, but I think there was a balance to be struck here. And now, to be honest, I would say the balance has been struck. The keying up process, in my opinion, is very well done. You can key up for a lot of it in pugs. Yeah, the heroic stuff you can't do, but, well, that's what a guild's for. And, hey, newer players, previous guilds could have keyed up already. A lot of the keying up can be done very, very easily. Yeah, some of the harder keying up, like for the eye, yeah, that's difficult. The Trials of the Naru, that's difficult. You've got to do heroic stuff. Well, yeah, live with it. It's not supposed to be easy to get in there in the first place, because if it was, then you've got a problem with people powering through content. Blizzard is aware of how quickly people can power through content, and they've created keying up processes, unlocking processes in order to do that. And in my opinion, that is a pretty good way of doing things. Would we really want to see in a game where High Owl's already been beaten, where all these other things have already been beaten, just because there isn't a keying up process and you don't have to go from one to the next to the next to the next? Yeah, well, in my opinion, that's how the progression should work, because that's how it used to work. You didn't go from Molten Core to AQ40, you went from Molten Core to Blackwing Lair to AQ40. Generally speaking, you didn't go from Blackwing Lair to Nax, because you just got owned. You know, yeah, you could go from Blackwing Lair and maybe take the first boss of Nax and maybe Vesuvius, but after that, you're just not getting anywhere. Good game, because you haven't done difficult content before that. The problem is, yeah, that was a linear progression from one to the next to the next to the next, as the content was implemented, people went to it. Now there's a whole bunch of content all at the same time, and the keying up process is a great way to give direction to players, in my honest opinion. That's really the way it should work. Now, here's the real thing that really gets my goat. Apparently, and here's one of the complaints from this guy, there seems to be a distinct lack of 25-man raids that are going to be doable by, quote, normal guilds. Whatever a normal guild is, I really don't know. However, I see people already taking Gruul, and they're not amazing guilds, and they are doing it, and they are progressing slowly, as they should be. Well, you want to burn through all this content so fast and have nothing to do, you'd be an idiot. That's all I can say to that. And the problem is, Tigger's actually caving into it, and he's saying, I agree. As I've already stated on these forums, Mag Theridon is proving more difficult than intended. It's a friggin' pit lord! Of course it's difficult! Sorry, but if it was a little pussycat, then that wouldn't be much of an epic raid encounter, then would it? And I said, we're planning on toning him down. We've made some minor fixes to Gruul. Okay, fixes, fair enough. Fixes are cool, you know. We already know that, say, areas of Serpent Shrine are pretty bugged, and there's issues there, and that could be done with fixes. But is it a fix, or is it a nerf? There's your question. And again, apparently Gruul needs to be toned down. Loads of people are beating Gruul already. Why should it be toned down? No, you're supposed to work for your epics. That's the point. If you don't want to work for your epics, then go PvP. Or go and have your dungeon set 3. There you go, that's what you're getting. I find it pretty friggin' disgraceful, quite frankly, that they are willing to cave in this much. Yeah, sure, content should be accessible for people, but there's a lot of content that is accessible for people. And again, I'm training my guild up through heroics. I'm not jumping straight into Karazhan. I'm not training 25-mans. I'm training them up. Anyone can do that. Anyone can train their guild up in heroics. And we're going in there with gear that was acquired during the Burning Crusade, quest items and instance drops. We're not going in there with tier 3. We're not even going in there with tier 2.5, most of us anyway. We're going in there with gear that came from Burning Crusade and was easy to acquire. And we'll do it. You know, we'll train our guild up and we'll do it. And we'll enjoy every second of it. I hope, anyway. And we'll enjoy the fact that it was great progression. You know, we have progressed and we've felt a genuine sense of accomplishment. The problem is, people want instant satisfaction. It's like candy. It's like, I want candy now. Wow, wow, wow. I want to get this stuff right now. Tough. You start from the bottom and you work your way up. If you've already accomplished a lot in the previous game, chances are you're going to accomplish quite a lot now. Let's say, for instance, my old guild Lethe has downed High Lord Mulgar already and cleared Karazhan, okay? And they were on the 6th boss of Nax. Now, of course, take Nihilum, they've already downed Mag Theridon, they've already taken the first boss of Serpent Shrine World first, and now they're dealing with the Eye. Which is a very appropriate time to announce what I was about to give you as regards to my very special announcement. We've been doing a few interviews recently, but I'm sure people know of a guild called Nihilum. Nihilum will be interviewed in a few weeks' time, only here on Blue Please, the only show that can get Nihilum. The only radio station that can get Nihilum. This is WoW Radio. Members from Nihilum will be on our show, and we'll be talking to them about the Eye, their raid progression, and their opinions of the Burning Crusade. Stay tuned on WCRadio.com to find out what's going on there. And that was, of course, my
Second wind.
Feel free to email in during the week if you're listening to the archive, or in fact you just listen to the live show about Second Wind topic, and you can get your emails read out on next week's show. I apologise, people, I have not had time to read out all your emails. That's just the way the show's gone. So there you go. Right. Okay. Shout-out time. You have a few minutes to get some shout-outs to me. Coming up after this, we have Speedy and Max Maps versus the World, as in Octale and Hordak are off doing a pre-release event for some amazing card game called Spoils, which is apparently great fun. So, of course, Max Maps and Speedy will be taking over for their show. That's coming up in just a few short minutes' time, but it's shout-out time. Shout-out time. Let's go, yo, and in fact, yo. So, right. Let's rock and roll. Now, apparently, Leothorus has been down by Death and Taxes, second boss in Serpent Shrine World first. Yeah, we know that, but then again, no one cares about that anymore. Because everyone's going about, ooh, look the Eye, how interesting. I've got some shout out to Handlebars on Vecnalash US Arena 2v2 team. Gimpin Ain't Easy is now recruiting on Vecnalash US. Send Leo Afterburn Tell on Vecnalash US. Also, get in touch with Max Maps if you want to join a PvE progression guild. He's setting one up, a small form one at the start of Blue Please. Get in touch with Max Maps on the forums, WCRadio.com, if you are interested. His alliance, if I remember correctly. A shout out to everyone on Dragonblight EU, especially my guild Duvel. Drink on, that's from May. I'd like to give a shout out to any and all Canadians listening. Let's get some donuts and play some ice hockey A, that's from Major Blood. I'm not 100% convinced that is in fact Canadian. Dark Kids says, can I have a shout out to Scizor, still trying to get transferred to Kazakh Blizzard transfer for the lose. Oh god, don't I know that one. It took me weeks to get all my people from my guild transferring out, I tell you. Can we get a shout out to Fallen Devil on Sylvanas EU because he has over 20 add-ons and WoW still runs reasonably on his computer. That's from Jamie Sperry, also known as Corrupt. Shout out goes to the Bloodfang Riders, or Raiders in fact, on Maelstrom US for downing the Little Red Robin Hood event. Riding Hood, get it right. My god, the one-shot. Yeah, that's not particularly difficult. Do not DCC chat me or I'll bite off your hands. A shout out to Total Naga from Blue Please because he is so gangster. He uses lots of Brit sarcasm. Yes, we have a paladin in our guild who believes he's ghetto. It's really quite scary. A shout out to myself and Kurgan Lou on Twilight Hammer EU. That's from Cetus. A shout out also goes out to Gouged for getting kicked out of RC by TB. Lol nub. Well, that's your fault, not mine. If you feel like doing a PM shout out, please shout out to the kittens that inhabit mittens. That's just scary and wrong. It really, really is. One shout out to Kabob on Earthen Ring EU from... I can't pronounce that. Iandrasil or something like that for coming back after a year of being gone. Woot. Undead Torrent says, shout out to Retard Big Dwarf that got his guild on everyone's kill on site list. Ha ha ha. A shout out to Ghosty from... Oh yes, for Garathos.com asked to. Yeah, that's very worrying. Some guy said he'd have Garathos.com tattooed over his arse for 4,000 gold to pay for his epic mount, and there is in fact a YouTube video. Check our forums or Garathos.com for that. A shout out to the Black Powder Foundry Guild on Ice Crown US. The best damn 5-man team is made up of the weirdest of specs known to man. That's from Gnomewise. Very good indeed. A shout out to the Hellfire Reapers on Airy Peak. That's from someone who didn't actually provide his name, which really doesn't help matters at all. A shout out to all the Thunderhorn EU and Cake Guild. Oh, and Arcane Stole My Kittens. That's from Blacks. What are you talking about, you crazy, crazy people? What else have we got in the form of shout-outs? Shout-outs incoming. A shout-out to Tears of Starbreeze Guild on Moonglade EU and their guild leader, Kokio, who is taking a sabbatical but shall be returning shortly. That's from Barderon. Thanks, TV. A shout-out to me for getting 68 last night on Skullcrusher US. That's Cairo saying that one. I am ghetto mofo for shizzle. That's from Total Naga, our resident paladin. No, you really, really aren't. You fail on all levels. How about done, quite frankly. Listen to the archives, check out our shows, dig our shows on the shows page, wcradio.com. And of course, I will announce details of the Nihilum interview coming up in the next few weeks, only on wcradio.com. You'll be listening to Blue Please. I have been Total Biscuit. Yes, I have indeed. And now I'm going to skid on over and hand it over to Max Maps and Speedy. You've been listening to Blue Please. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Check out all the shows and podcasts. I'm done. Good night.